Today is the feast of the presentation of the Lord, a feast which is one of those feasts of the Lord which cannot be moved. This is always celebrated on the 2nd of February. This feast is also called the Candlemas because of the paraliturgical ceremony of lighted candles. Christ, the light of the world, coming into the temple. Today we carry lights into the church, yet the light that was carried by Mary was Jesus Christ himself, the light of the world, and not candles as we carry. In today's feast, two traditions converge. First is the ritual of purification prescribed in the book of Leviticus, chapter 12, verse 1 to 8. This law prescribes that every woman after childbirth is unclean because of the passage of blood. It's not uncleanness of sin. It is not moral uncleanliness, but just ritual uncleanliness. And the prescription is that after a woman gives birth to a son, she is unclean for 40 days. And after 40 days, she makes a sacrifice to a priest, a lamb 1 year old, for burnt offering, and a turtle dove for sin offering. However, if the family is poor and unable to offer a lamb, then they offer for sacrifice a pair of turtle doves. And Luke describes this as what Joseph and Mary were able to sacrifice, to offer. They were not able to provide a lamb. In fact, Jesus himself is the lamb that eventually would be sacrificed. So they didn't need to bring a lamb. The second tradition or custom that is part of what we celebrate today is that given in the book of Exodus, chapter 13, verse 11 to 16, which goes back to the event of liberation of the people of Israel, the Passover, the Exodus from Egypt. And this law prescribes that every male, first male that opens the womb, must be dedicated to God. Whether it's animals or human beings, if it is, and they must be redeemed, the animals must be redeemed, and if not redeemed, the neck must be broken. But that of the human person, the human being, must be redeemed. The firstborn sons must be redeemed with 5 shekels of silver. But interestingly, this second prescription was not one or part of what Joseph and Mary brought to the temple. And this implies, just like Jesus is the lamb of sacrifice, Jesus' sacrifice brings redemption not to himself, but to the sons and daughters of God, of men, to the children of God. His own sacrifice, that ultimate sacrifice, as we see in the second reading today, brings healing. It becomes a propitiation, something that is offered either to appease the wrath of God or to draw his blessings upon people. The sacrifice of Jesus both appeases God and brings blessings upon those who are recipients, beneficiaries of this sacrifice, all of us. There's something else that we need to understand about the feast of today and these two customs. It is not prescribed that these must be made to a priest in a temple. It can be given at homes, it can be given anywhere. Yet Joseph and Mary decided to make this pilgrimage about 5 miles from where Jesus was born to the temple in Jerusalem, to make this sacrifice. And this, in a way, becomes a presentation of Jesus Christ, a revelation, an unveiling of this child who was only known by few. But it becomes, if you like, another epiphany, a manifestation of who Jesus is. And we see this as a fulfillment of the prophecy. The first reading of today from the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1 to 4. And suddenly, the Lord whom you are waiting will enter his temple. Suddenly, he would appear. He will enter his temple. He will purify the temple. He will bring healing to those waiting and anticipating the coming of the Messiah. Eventually, in the course of his public ministry, Jesus will be cleansing the temple. He will be entering the temple again to cleanse the temple, to purify the temple, and through that to make ready all those who waited for the coming of the Savior, of the Messiah. At birth, 40 days old, he's already beginning this. Again, we see in the prophecies made by these two great people, Simeon representing men and Anna representing women. Luke's gospel has a way of complementing the two genders. What is said of men eventually is presented of women, to show that the message of Jesus is not only for one gender, all of us. And these two great people, Simeon in the Nunc Dimittis, at last our powerful master, and then Anna in her own prophecy, represent the hope or those who had desired, who had waited, who had hoped for the coming of the Messiah, for the liberation of the people of Israel. And now seeing that being realized, Simeon makes this prophecy, declaring his joy. For my eyes have seen that light. For my eyes have seen the salvation. For my eyes have seen the fulfillment of the promise made long ago. And this is what we celebrate. That light, that hope, that fulfillment that Jesus brings, that Jesus is. This year is the year of hope. And how does this affect us? In our society, where many have lost hope, where many feel that God is not there, where many feel abandoned, the feast of today gives us hope. the two persons, Simeon and Anna, encourage us never to give up, to always wait. Certainly they weren't the only people in the temple, but they were the ones that were able to recognize what was promised long ago, centuries, the coming of the Messiah. This sudden entry of the Holy One into this holy place. The truth is that Jesus enters in our space, into our space, into our circumstances, into our situations. He comes in our society, in our lives, in our homes. But of course, we need to be attentive. We need to attune our senses to his coming. We need to recognize him in whatever way he comes. What prevents us? Maybe the desires, maybe the noise that the world brings, maybe our inadequacies. Whatever it is, this is a challenge. And this is also a reminder of our own consecrations, of our own dedication, of our own presentation. Presented to God, we become instruments drawing our light from the light that is Christ. And we're invited to shine for others to see, to become a light that guides others, that will lead them to the Savior. We're invited to recognize him and point him out as Simeon and Anna did. There's always this joy, this fulfillment we feel each time we recognize him, each time we acknowledge him, each time we are true to our vocation to present him to the world. Today, we began our liturgy with the procession with candle. Let us make effort that this light, which is Christ, may continue to guide us on the right path, and that we may also be a light on the way, on the path, in this pilgrimage to others. Let us recognize Jesus, who is presented to us today, and let us make him known to the whole world.